We just received 3 pieces of great news for Terra Luna Classic within the past 24 hours. These updates bring us closer than ever to realizing the dream of a $1 Terra Luna Classic. Let's break down what these 3 updates are and why they're so important. The first update we have comes from LUNC Burns Army, the project manager for the L1 task force. And you can see right here, classic version 1.0.5 has just been released. Thanks to Ed Kim and the entire team for all your amazing work. The update will be live at approximately February 14th, 2023. Now, if you're not aware, this proposal passed just about a week ago here. And you can see we had 99.99% support. This is, I believe, the highest supporting proposal we have ever had on Terra Luna Classic. And this enables them to actually do future upgrades, because one of the problems they have is that the way that the system's currently set up, it will not allow them to do some automated updates or easier updates, and things are a lot more manual intensive right now. But this changing out some of the core functionality of the system to allow for those updates will make things so much easier in the future. And so this right here, this is like a fundamental infrastructure type update. This is like building a road in a neighborhood. This is not going to immediately pump Terra Luna Classic, so do not expect on February 14th to see Terra Luna Classic pump. If we get it, that'd be great. That'd be a nice extra surprise, but I would not expect it, because this is not an update that's going to change really anything for the consumer facing perspective. Again, this is the back-end infrastructure. Our second update also comes from LUNC Burns Army, and this talks about version 1.0.6. You might be thinking, wait a second, we just talked about 1.0.5. Why are we already looking at 1.0.6 if 1.0.5 is not even out yet? It's not going to be out for about 2 weeks, but this one's really important to us. This deals with the Binance whitelist update. LUNC Burns Army says, looks like that one is just about ready to go live as well. We will release the go live date for Classic 1.0.6 soon. It will require a governance proposal to be enabled. And so this one's really important because of that Binance whitelist. And if you're not aware, you might remember this, but Binance released this statement a little while ago saying that they're changing their Terra Luna Classic burning. And if you're not familiar, Binance had 2 demands. The first one was that they wanted their burns to no longer be reminted into the community pool. We have accomplished that factor. The second thing that they wanted is to whitelist the Binance wallets so that the transaction tax, that on-chain transaction tax, is not applied when transferring between those specific wallets for Binance. So this upgrade will actually allow us to meet that Binance request. This is the Binance whitelist. And so once we can actually enable this and meet this request, starting at the 1st of March, Binance will continue their burns. And so this is really great news. This update's almost ready to go. Then the community will be able to vote on it. I'm sure we will all support the Binance burns. Then they'll be able to actually implement the update, and we'll be able to fully meet the Binance request to continue the Binance burns. So this is really bullish, because the Binance burns, and what this is done, will no longer be at risk. By the way, if you guys are getting value out of this video, please consider smashing the like button down below. And while you're at it, why don't you hit the notification bell so you don't miss another video just like this one. Let's keep going. All right, the next bullish update for Terra Luna Classic also has to do with Binance. You can see this update from this individual. Binance has removed the risk warning labels for both LUNC and USTC. And you can see that here. They took some screenshots from the Binance page. You have LUNC/BUSD. There's no warning labels here. Same with USTC/BUSD. And they do point out that Luna V2 still has the warnings, however it's slightly changed, and you can see what that looks like right here with this warning label at the bottom that both Terra Luna Classic and USTC does not have anymore. And so this is really great news, because these warning labels, they deterred new investors from coming into our community, because maybe they hear about Terra Luna Classic, they want to get involved, and they go to buy some, and then they see these warning labels, and they don't know the full story. They don't know about the fall of Terra Luna Classic. They don't know how we're reviving it, how TFL is no longer really running Terra Luna Classic. They don't know all these details. And so they see a warning label, and it scares them off. And so it's really great that we don't have those anymore. And so off of this news, Terra Luna Classic has moved up a little bit. You can see a slight price increase right here. You can definitely see when people notice this update, we saw the price run up quite a bit more, and we've pulled back a little bit since then. But the biggest change is when we look at USTC, up over almost 17.5% right now, which is insane. And you can see this one as well. You can see very clearly here, if I move my cursor, we can see right about here is where this happened. You can see it ran up, it pulled back down, but USTC actually kept going back up. And this is probably to do with the Ziggy proposal, or the repay proposal that just came out. And so while these updates are not going to get us to a $1 Terra Luna Classic next week or even next month, these are massive steps forward. The 1.0.5 update, while yes, it's infrastructure, and yes, you're not going to see any major changes from a consumer perspective, this lays the framework for enabling us to do a bunch of updates For example, that 1.0.6 that adds the Binance whitelist, from my understanding and talking to some of the people on the dev team, that update where we could add the Binance whitelist would not be possible without 1.0.5. So that's just one example of some possibilities that update enables. And then obviously the 1.0.6 meets the Binance request, which means Binance will continue burning Terra Luna Classic, and we can keep burning down our supply at an exponential rate. And you guys can see here as to why the Binance burn is so critical to our burn missions. This is available at burnandbuild.org/LUNCBurn. But you can see right here, this big spike that we saw, this was the Binance burn. This is more increase than we've seen since that happened, and that was the beginning of December. So since that Binance burn in the beginning of December, we haven't seen as much burn since that happened almost 2 months ago now. You can see our average daily burn number, it keeps dropping over time. Right now it's at about 132 million Terra Luna Classic per day. And the reason for that is quite simple. Every single day our burns are not actually as high as they really should average out because we haven't had a Binance burn. So you can see we can just pick a couple days right here. We could see right in here, you're looking at a change of roughly 40 million Terra Luna Classic on these different days, which is less than the average because the average factors in this massive Binance burn that we saw. But since then, our daily burn's a lot lower because we don't have that. And so once we can get another major Binance burn, this will help smooth out this average a little bit. So without the Binance burn, you're looking at in the range of 20, 40, maybe even 50 million Terra Luna Classic per day, which is like a third or less of the average burn that we've seen so far over the past couple of months when we factor in just one single Binance burn. And finally, that update with Binance removing the warning labels is going to help set the framework for us to grow our community of Terra Luna Classic investors so much in the future. It's going to help bring more people in, help educate people about our missions, our objectives, without all the baggage that's attached from back in the collapse. However, all of this is absolutely worthless if we don't see utilities come to Terra Luna Classic that'll actually provide true fundamental value to our ecosystem. And if you guys want to learn about the potentials of those different utilities, check out this video up here, and I will catch you all in the next one.